Cool. So I think I sent you a letter. I sent you a message basically saying that I've included another effect which you can go into afterwards. Involves a deck of cards. So if we assume the situation is she's selected the perfume bottle. We've got the card out on the table which says perfume bottle on the back. So that's like that, which is cool. We've got the perfume bottle out, which people can have a look at. So then you and you can kind of explain, well, you know, that the knowing has been passed on to you because you actually worked out which was her item. So we're going to try another little experiment. And you can either pick somebody else or you can do it on the same person. And basically you get the cards out. You can give the cards to them to do this completely hands off. That's how I've learned to do it. To start with, I didn't until I got to know how the cards work. But basically, I'll assume that the spectator is basically doing all this. So you give them the cards, they take the cards, you say to them, can you just have a quick look through just to make sure that they're all different and they're in no particular order, which they do. Everything looks above board, and then you say, right, can you take them under the table so you can't see yourself what you're actually doing, and we want you to give them a bit of a mix. So can you kind of scooch? You can show them how to do this with another deck of cards, or you can show them before you give them to them. You kind of say, can you scooch some cards over, as many or as little as you want, and then kind of move the ones from the top to the bottom. And again, while they've got it under the table, they're doing that, and you can ask them again to do it 3 times. Once they've done that, you can say, great, fantastic, pop the cards back up onto the table. Now we're going to give you a chance to, you can either cut the cards again, or you can leave the cards exactly where you are, because obviously you've mixed the cards up under the table. Nobody knows, I don't know, you don't know what order they're in. Are you happy, or do you kind of feel that you want to cut the cards again? Are you getting that knowing feeling, or are you kind of content in knowing that everything's kind of how it should be now? You're obviously not explaining why or whatever, but you kind of give them that feeling of, are they happy, or you know, do they feel that they want to take, and whatever they want to do, they can cut the cards again as many times as they want. And you kind of say, okay, so we've ended up in this situation with this card on top. And you take the card off and just pop it down. And you say, if you'd have taken 1 card more, we would have ended up with the 7 of clubs. And you literally could have picked, you know, you could have cut to any card in the deck, but we ended up with that card. And you turn the card over. Well, no, you can either do it 2 ways. You can either turn the card over and do a reveal, but I like to do this first. Before you turn the card over, you kind of explain that Irene had a lucky card, that when she was a child, or there was an accident in the house and there was a house fire, and one of the things that she got, that she saved out of the fire, was a deck of cards that she had when she was a child, and one of the cards that was left, that hadn't burned, or whatever the story is, maybe you don't want to get too dramatic, but you show that inside the bottle is a Queen of Clubs, and then you do the reveal that they've chosen the Queen of Clubs. Job done. If they don't pick the perfume bottle, then I've included another Queen of Clubs, which you can kind of already secretly have in there that they don't know about. So if they haven't picked the perfume bottle, if they've picked one of the other 3, you can still do this routine. You can still be left with that card that they picked on the table, but then you kind of do the same story. Instead of doing the reveal from the actual perfume bottle itself, you can take the card out, and whatever story you want to give, that, you know, this was her favourite card and it was the Queen of Clubs, and with the power of the knowing, you've selected the Queen of Clubs. There we go. So if you don't know what these are, it's a Svengali deck, but they've been roughed and smoothed. So basically you can handle them like a deck of cards, and they're not going to come apart. But every short card, whichever you cut to, is the Queen of Clubs. It's my favourite deck. Gimmick deck is fantastic because you can do it completely hands off. I've done a two coincidence routine where you've got two decks. As long as you've got the same force card, they can both do the mixing up under the table. They come back up, they've selected the card they've cut to, they both turn it over and they've picked the same card. It's an incredible deck. You can drop them onto the table as single cards. Is that good. And then you can, you know, if you really wanted to go to town on it and convince people, it's just amazing. They can be dropped. If they get fumbled, which has happened before, they don't come apart. It's just an incredible versatile deck that you can use for like loads of other routines. And if you have a look, you probably can't see, but one of the other routines I do without the cabinet is my other version of Irene Fisher, and the card that she's holding in the photograph is the Queen of Clubs, which is the force card. So they've kind of been sat in the room and there she is on the wall with the Queen of Clubs. You want to, if you don't, I mean, if you do know what these is, I don't want you to, you know, I'm not teaching you to suck eggs, but if you don't know what this deck is and you've never used it before, it is fantastic. As a forcing deck, there's nothing better because you can do it completely hands off. You can hand them the deck as long as you kind of give them clear enough instructions not to shuffle and that kind of thing. You want to make sure that they're doing what you're asking them to do. It's fantastic. So that's it. If there's got any questions, then send me an email. I'll put my email address on the screen so you can get hold of me. I hope I haven't waffled on too much, but I think with the gimmicks that you have and the atmosphere that you can set, like I said, I've got an old gramophone record that I use. You put candles on around the room. You can turn this into a 10-15 minute routine, especially with this deck of cards as well. Hope you enjoy it, and some feedback would be fantastic. So again, thanks for buying it. The Knowing.